You were lied to about 10,000 steps, and not in a dramatic conspiracy way, but in the most ordinary way possible: marketing. You've heard it so many times that it feels like a law of nature. Get 10,000 steps a day. Like if you hit that number, your body gets a secret stamp of approval and your heart sends you a thank you note. But here's the truth: that number didn't come from a clinical trial, a medical board, or a group of scientists in lab coats. It came from a clever idea in the 1960s when a Japanese pedometer company launched a 10,000 step meter because the character for 10,000 looked like a person walking. It was memorable, it was clean, it sounded like a goal, and once a number gets tattooed into the public brain, it becomes truth, even when it started as branding. So the real question isn't, is 10,000 steps bad? It's, do you actually need it to get the benefits you want? And the bigger question behind that is, what are you trying to achieve in the first place? Fat loss, blood sugar control, lower blood pressure, better mood, longer life? Because your step goal should be a tool, not a superstition. Here's the spoiler: you don't need anywhere near 10,000 steps to get most of the health benefits that people are chasing. And if time is your limiting factor, which it is for most people, there are two simple techniques that can supercharge your results in less than half the time it takes to grind out 10,000 steps. One is a Japanese interval walking method that feels almost too easy to be real. The other is a Norwegian protocol that's one of the most time-efficient ways to build cardiovascular fitness without living on a treadmill. Before we get into it, a quick disclaimer: this is educational content, not medical advice. If you have heart disease, chest pain, dizziness, uncontrolled blood pressure, a history of fainting, or you're recovering from illness or injury, talk to a clinician and go gentler. If you're on medications that affect heart rate or blood pressure, you'll want individualized guidance. The goal here is safe and sustainable, not heroic. Now let's break the spell of 10,000 steps. Most people imagine the health benefits of walking as a straight line. More steps equals more benefit forever. But the data we have from large population studies suggests something more realistic. The benefits show up earlier than you think, and then they start to plateau. In other words, the big jump is going from almost no movement to some movement. That's where the magic happens. For many outcomes like overall mortality risk, metabolic health markers, and long-term disease risk, meaningful benefits can begin in the range of a few thousand steps per day. And for many people, the curve starts flattening somewhere around the 7,000 step neighborhood. That doesn't mean 10,000 is useless, it just means it's not the sacred minimum people make it out to be. Think of it like water. If you're dehydrated, the first glass feels like salvation. The second glass still matters, but by the time you're fully hydrated, chugging extra water doesn't turn you into a superhero. It just makes you visit the bathroom more often. Steps work the same way. The first chunk of movement gives you the biggest return on investment, and that matters because time is the real bottleneck. If you live in a walkable city and your day naturally includes walking to transit, walking to lunch, walking to groceries, then 10,000 steps can happen without you trying. But if you live in a car-based environment, 10,000 steps can feel like adding a second job. You're already busy, your schedule is tight, and now you're supposed to manufacture movement out of thin air. That's why people burn out. Not because walking is hard, but because the way we frame the goal is unrealistic for modern life. So instead of chasing an arbitrary number, let's use a smarter approach: the step spectrum. Think of movement like a spectrum with 3 levers you can pull depending on your life and your goals. Lever 1 is foundational walking, your baseline movement, your daily "I'm not sedentary" signal. Lever 2 is interval walking, still walking, but you add short bursts of intensity to upgrade the benefits. Lever 3 is structured high-intensity intervals, a powerful tool for improving cardiovascular fitness quickly when done appropriately. You don't need to pull all 3 levers every day, you just need to pull the right lever at the right time. Let's start with lever 1. How many steps do you actually need? If you're currently doing almost nothing, say 1,000 to 2,000 steps a day, the goal isn't 10,000. The goal is to stop being sedentary. Getting into the range of even 3,000 to 4,000 steps can be a major shift for your health trajectory. And for a lot of people, a consistent target around 7,000 steps per day is enough to drive meaningful long-term benefits without turning your life into a step-counting obsession. Now yes, more steps can still be better. 10,000 can be great, 15,000 can be great, but if you have to choose between a goal you can sustain and a goal that sounds impressive, pick the sustainable goal every time. Because the body doesn't reward occasional perfection, it rewards consistency. Okay, now here's where things get interesting. If you don't have time to grind out long walks, you can get more benefit in less time by changing one thing: intensity. Not sprint until you collapse intensity, just strategic intensity. This is where the Japanese interval walking training method comes in. I love this method because it doesn't require special equipment, it doesn't require a gym, and it doesn't require you to become a fitness person. It's just walking with intention. Here's Here's how it works. You walk at a normal, comfortable pace for 3 minutes, like you're casually strolling through a store. Then you walk briskly for 3 minutes, like you're late for a meeting and you just realize the elevator is broken. Then you repeat that cycle 5 times. That's it, 30 minutes total. Normal for 3 minutes, brisk for 3 minutes, repeat. The brilliance is that those brief bursts of brisk walking change the signal your body receives. Regular walking is a steady, gentle message. Interval walking adds a stronger adapt message without turning it into a miserable workout. And because it's still walking, it's accessible for most people and easier on the joints than many forms of exercise. What does brisk mean? Here's a simple way to think about it. During the brisk segments, you should feel like you're working, your breathing is heavier, and talking in full sentences is annoying. But you're not dying. You can still keep going for the whole 3 minutes. If you can sing, it's too easy. If you can't speak at all, it's probably too hard. You're looking for that "I can say a short sentence, but I'd rather not" zone. And here's the reason it matters. You can get disproportionately big returns from a small dose of intensity. Interval walking can improve aerobic capacity more than steady walking alone, and it tends to improve glucose control and insulin sensitivity efficiently, sometimes faster than people expect, even when total calories burned aren't dramatically different. That's the part that surprises people, because most of us were taught the old model: calories in, calories out, grind forever. But the body is more responsive than that. It adapts to the quality of the stimulus, not just the quantity. Interval walking can also improve vascular function, things like arterial stiffness and blood pressure trends, because you're challenging the cardiovascular system in a way that steady strolling may not. Plus, it tends to improve mood and energy because it feels like you actually did something, not like you shuffled around the neighborhood hoping your watch would be satisfied. And the best part is, you don't need to make it complicated. You can do it in a park, in your neighborhood, in a hallway, on a treadmill if you want, anywhere you can walk. Now let's take it one step higher on the spectrum. The Norwegian 4x4 protocol is one of the most time-efficient ways to build serious cardiovascular fitness. This is where you stop thinking of walking as just movement and start thinking of it as training. Not because you need to be an athlete, but because your heart and lungs respond incredibly well to structured intervals. Here's what 4x4 looks like. You warm up for about 5 to 10 minutes at an easy pace. Then you do 4 minutes of hard effort, followed by 3 minutes of easy recovery. Repeat that 4 times, then cool down for a few minutes. So yes, the whole session might be 35 to 40 minutes when you include the warm-up and cool down. But the hard part is only 16 minutes total. That's the magic. A small amount of correctly dosed intensity can create a big change. Now let's clarify something important. High intensity does not mean sprinting until your soul leaves your body. High intensity means you're working hard enough that the effort feels challenging but sustainable for 4 full minutes. You're breathing heavy, you're focused, and you're counting the seconds, but you can hold the pace. If you go so hard that you're forced to slow down after 45 seconds, it's too intense for this protocol. For beginners, high intensity might be brisk uphill walking. It might be a fast treadmill incline walk. It might be cycling at a challenging pace. It might be rowing. The modality doesn't matter as much as the intensity zone. A classic target people use is a high percentage of max heart rate, often roughly 85 to 95% during the hard intervals. But heart rate isn't the only way to gauge it, and medications can make heart rate targets unreliable. So here's a practical cue. During the hard intervals, you should be able to say only a few words at a time. You're not chatting, you're working. Why does 4C4 matter so much? Because it can significantly improve VO2 max, your body's ability to use oxygen during exercise. And VO2 max isn't just a fitness brag, it's one of the strongest markers we have for long-term health and resilience. Higher cardiorespiratory fitness is associated with lower risk of heart disease, stroke, metabolic disease, and overall mortality. In plain terms, a higher VO2 max often means you have more reserve, more capacity, more buffer when life hits you with stress, illness, aging, or unexpected setbacks. Think of VO2 max like your body's emergency fund. If your emergency fund is tiny, one surprise bill ruins you. If your emergency fund is strong, the same surprise bill is annoying, but it doesn't break you. Fitness works the same way. Higher capacity means your body can do more with less strain. Your heart pumps more efficiently, your blood vessels function better, your muscles extract oxygen more effectively, and everyday life feels easier. And here's the part that should make everyone listening lean forward. You don't need hours. kilometers. You don't need endless mileage, you need the right dose of intensity applied consistently within your current ability level. Now, I want to connect everything back to the original myth. The 10,000 step goal made people think the only way to earn health was through volume. But you have options, you have levers, and once you understand the levers, you stop feeling trapped. Here's how I'd frame it for real life. If you're starting from zero, your first goal is simply to move daily. Don't obsess over perfection. Aim for a baseline that you can do even on bad days. A short walk after meals, a walk while you're on calls, a few thousand steps spread through the day. Your body responds quickly when you go from sedentary to moving. Once you're consistently moving, level up with interval walking training a few times per week. 30 minutes, 3 minutes easy, 3 minutes brisk. It's simple enough that you'll actually do it, but powerful enough that it changes your physiology. If you want the highest return on time, especially for cardiovascular fitness, add the Norwegian 4x4 1 to 2 times per week, depending on your recovery and your schedule. Treat it like a skill, not a punishment. Start with what you can sustain, build gradually, let your body adapt, and you can mix these based on your season of life. If you're slammed at work, maybe you just hit your baseline steps and do interval walking once. If you have more time, maybe you add 4x4. If you're traveling, you lean on walking. If you're stressed, you might prioritize movement that calms you rather than movement that crushes you. Because the real goal isn't to worship a number. The real goal is to build a body that works well, now and later. So if you want a simple takeaway, you can actually use, here it is. Stop chasing 10,000 like it's a magical threshold. If you can hit it naturally, great, but if it feels like a stressful chore, reframe the mission. Get your baseline movement consistent, then add small, strategic doses of intensity, interval walking, or 4x4 to multiply the benefits without multiplying the time. The most underrated part of all of this is psychological. When you stop failing at an unrealistic goal, you stop feeling like a failure. When you choose a system you can actually sustain, you become the kind of person who moves, not the kind of person who tries to move and quits every Monday. And that's the real win, because long-term health isn't built by one heroic day. It's built by thousands of ordinary days where you do something small that your body can compound. So yes, walking matters. It's foundational. It's underrated. But intensity applied intelligently is the shortcut most busy people are missing. If you want to start today, here's your challenge. Pick one lever. Just one. Either aim for a baseline step target you can hit even on a bad day, or do one 30-minute interval walk this week, or try a beginner-friendly 4x4 with brisk uphill walking as your hard interval. Then do it again next week. Track how you feel. Track your energy. Track how quickly your body adapts when the signal is consistent, because you were never lazy. You were just handed a myth and told it was the only path. Now you've got a better map. Stay healthy, and I'll see you in the next one.